When most people hear the word Springfield, they think of the iconic 1903 Springfield, a rifle that helped carry American soldiers through both world wars and countless other conflicts. But what if I told you that name is connected to a much larger legacy, one that's as old as the country itself? Stretching back to the founding of our nation, this is the story of one armory that helped arm the United States for nearly 2 centuries, shaping not only American military history, but modern manufacturing itself. Today, we're taking a retrospective look at the incredible story of the Springfield Armory. In the midst of the American Revolutionary War, General George Washington was looking for a strategic site to build a new arsenal for his troops. He needed something special, somewhere that could be kept secure from British forces while being close enough to allow quick deployment when needed. Washington personally scouted various locations, including the sleepy town of Springfield, Massachusetts, on the advice of Henry Knox. It was there that Washington found exactly what he was looking for: a rugged bluff overlooking the Connecticut River, safely inland, yet accessible via rivers and roads. It was just the place that would help shape a young nation's future. By 1777, the small town had become home to the arsenal at Springfield, storing muskets, cannons, and military supplies for the Patriot forces. As it grew in both size and popularity, barracks, shops, and foundries were erected, more than doubling the amount of output. It wasn't long before the armory's existence began shaping national politics as well. During Shays' Rebellion in 1787, armed insurgents marched on Springfield hoping to seize its weapons. Local militia repelled them with grape shot, helping quell the uprising and influencing discussions at the Constitutional Convention about the need for a stronger federal government. In the years after the Revolutionary War, the federal government retained the site, and in 1794, Congress formally established the Springfield Armory, the nation's first federal armory. Soon, craftsmen and inventors such as famed Eli Whitney flocked to Springfield, ready to work side by side arming the fledgling nation. One of the armory's earliest and most important products was the Springfield Model 1795, the first mass-produced musket of the United States. Whitney heavily based the design on the French Charleville Model 1763/66, which was a 69 caliber flintlock musket which had seen use during the French and Indian Wars and served as the main firearm for Americans during the Revolutionary War. Over 150,000 Model 1795s would eventually be produced in Springfield and other armories such as Harper's Ferry. U.S. infantrymen would carry these for the next half-century, securing the armory's place as a cornerstone of domestic American arms production. As the 19th century progressed, Springfield became more than a weapons depot. It became a cradle of innovation. Engineers at the armory pioneered interchangeable parts, precision gauges, and early forms of the assembly line long before the days of Henry Ford. Meanwhile, tool makers such as Thomas Blanchard developed special lathes that would rapidly turn out identical rifle stocks. For centuries, gunsmithing had been an art, each gun a unique and handcrafted masterpiece. Suddenly, what once took days only took a few hours, and perfectly identical guns began filling the racks at Springfield, truly laying the groundwork for modern mass production. The armory, much like America, grew and grew over the preceding decades, constantly expanding and advancing. By the time of the American Civil War, almost a dozen models of Springfield muskets and rifles had been developed, including smoothbore, rifled, and single-shot rifles. And even in the midst of war, Springfield continued to revolutionize firearms technology while its factories outproduced Confederate armories by an astonishing margin, supplying hundreds of thousands of rifles to Union troops and cementing the armory's role in both military success and the blossoming Industrial Revolution. Over time, countless trailblazing designs emerged from the Springfield Armory. Chief among those were the Springfield Models 1861 and 1863, the definitive firearms of the Civil War for the Union Army. Produced in enormous numbers, they became the symbol of mid-19th century infantry warfare. For the first time ever, the US had issued rifled, shoulder-fired weapons to their rank and file infantry, and the impact was immediately noticeable. Their widespread use proved the supremacy of rifled barrels over the older smoothbore muskets, and the use of advanced projectiles such as the mini-ball dramatically increased battlefield range and lethality. Not once to stop there, the Springfield Armory pushed for even more. The Model 1861 and Model 1863 were soon followed by the Model 1873 trapdoor, arguably the most iconic post-Civil War rifle. Adopted as the Army's Army's first standard-issue breech-loading service rifle, the 1873 fired the powerful 4570 government cartridge and featured the distinctive hinged trapdoor breech. Produced in rifle, carbine, and cadet versions, it dominated the Indian War era and became inseparable from the story of westward expansion and the professionalization of the post-war army. By the end of the 19th century, arms development was exploding worldwide. New technologies such as magazines and bolt actions were making even the legendary Model 1873 look outdated. Countries and militaries around the globe were looking for the latest designs to arm their troops, and the US was no different. In 1892, a competition was held to find a replacement for the trapdoor Springfield, and somewhat controversially, it was the Norwegian Krag-Jorgensen that won the day. The Armory soon began pumping out officially designated Springfield Model 1892s in the 30-40 caliber, America's first bolt-action repeating service rifle. The Krag represented a clear break from the single-shot tradition and set the stage for what would come next, the rifle that would define the 20th century. At the dawn of this new century, the Spanish-American War exposed many hard truths. America, armed with their Krags, were finding themselves outranged and outgunned by Spanish forces using the more superior Mauser rifle. America needed something new, and the response had to be swift. The Springfield Armory got right to work designing a replacement, and by 1900 had created a prototype that combined the best features of the Krag-Jorgensen as well as the Mauser design. Further experiments followed, and finally in 1903 they unveiled a rifle that would redefine American military arms, the Model 1903 Springfield. Combining a strong dual lug bolt, stripper clip fed internal magazine, and a carbine length barrel, the 1903 boasted exceptional accuracy and marked America's full entry into the modern bolt action warfare. The rifle immediately proved itself in the trenches of World War I, earning a reputation for its rugged reliability and precision. Early versions used the 30-03 cartridge, but was soon upgraded to the legendary 30-06. And the Springfield would go on to serve the US military for more than 50 years. The Armory spent much of the next 40 years further evolving the Springfield design. The A1 embraced a pistol grip stock for better ergonomics. The A3 simplified production during World War II without sacrificing battlefield performance, and the A4 sniper variant served various branches well into the Vietnam War. However, what good would the Armory be if they weren't constantly on the cutting edge of military technology? Throughout the 20s and 30s, an experimental rifle designed by M1 Garand worked its way through various trials and tribulations. Far more advanced than even the 1903 Springfield, this rifle utilized a gas-operated action along with a special N-block clip that made a very distinctive when ejected from the weapon. It faced years of obstacles, but was eventually adopted by the US military as the M1 Garand, marking their first standard-issue semi-automatic rifle. Springfield quickly began churning out thousands of Garands in the same buildings that once made the humble 1795 150 years earlier, and by the end of World War II, the Springfield Armory had made over 3.5 million M1 Garands that armed troops around the world, showing just how powerful modern weaponry could be. Following World War II, the Armory did what it did best and innovated once again, creating the M14 rifle. It was an upgraded M1 design with full auto capabilities, a detachable magazine, and it was chambered for the newer 7.62mm round. It served as the last standard issue American battle rifle. The M14 was used abroad in the Korean and Vietnam Wars, but problems quickly arose. Post-World War II developments had shown that the days of heavy and powerful rifles with wood stocks were gone. Newer designs such as the M16 and AK-47 were lighter and more maneuverable, using intermediate cartridges relying on synthetic materials or sheet metal to shed weight. Eventually, by 1968, the Springfield Armory had closed its doors for good. The world had grown small, and a modern America didn't see a need to rely on a single developer for its weaponry anymore, not when it had an entire globe of companies eager to deliver the latest and greatest. The arsenal was declared a National Historic Site and turned into a museum. People can come and see those great same bluffs that General Washington once stood upon. The legacy of the Springfield Armory lives on in many forms. Its designs can be seen all over Hollywood cinema and video games alike. Films such as Saving Private Ryan, The Pacific, and Band of Brothers saw thousands of Springfield 1903s across their screens. Sarco Inc. even supplied the Pacific with its Springfields, which is a story all of its own. Video games such as Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, and Battlefield had featured many Springfield rifles throughout their decades of game design. In gun stores across America, these rifles can be treasured for the pieces of history that they truly are. For nearly 2 centuries, the Armory adapted to new technologies and conflicts, producing everything from flintlock muskets to fully automatic rifles. It was a place where military needs and manufacturing ingenuity drove each other forward. Its legacy is truly undeniable, even today. Share your stories of Springfield Armory and its many designs in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you can catch our next video. You never know what we're going to cover next.